Hold on just one second. What's up guys, it's Aaron, and today we're talking cell cams. Imagine being able to get real-time intel sent directly to your phone or laptop without even having to step foot into the woods. I've been running cell cams for the last 2 seasons and I want to share my experience with you. If you guys like deer hunting content and product reviews, hit the thumbs up button and subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you go on any hunting forum or Facebook page, I guarantee you see posts of people asking about cell cams. What are the pros and cons? Do they work? Are they worth the money? And on and on and on. And I'm gonna do my best to answer some of those questions for you today. So now let's get into the debate of some of the pros and the cons. We'll start with the pros. In my opinion, the overwhelming benefit of running cell cameras is the ability to remotely monitor what's going on in the deer woods, get real-time intel without physically having to go to your trail cameras, swap out the SD cards, lay down ground scent, and have that additional intrusion to be able to get the information that's on those SD cards. If you've run any kind of trail camera, the benefit should be obvious. So you might be sitting there wondering why everybody doesn't use cell cameras. So now let's get into some of the cons. The first downside to running cell cameras is cost. Generally speaking, a cell camera, apples to apples, is more expensive than a normal trail camera. In addition to the cost of the actual camera itself, you also need to purchase either a monthly or an annual service plan so that way your camera is actually connected to a cellular network. The nice part about this is most cell cam companies have figured out how to make it simple for us as the user to activate our cameras and actually get it connected to the cellular network. Most of them include a SIM card with the camera, so instead of physically having to drive to a Verizon or an AT&T store, you simply just activate the SIM card that's included and then you're up and running. Aside from cost, the biggest issue that I see with cell cameras is that the technology is still relatively new. Sure, we've had cell phones for quite a while now, but we're still working out the kinks with the cell cams, and more than likely, if you go the route of the cell cam, you're gonna have to contact customer service at some point or another to do some troubleshooting. In my opinion, this is just the nature of the beast. It's something that you have to endure if you want the benefit of having that remote access to your trail cameras. The obvious challenge with cell cameras is they only work where you have cell signal. So if you're hunting a super remote area, you're not gonna be able to use a cell camera to its full functionality. The last argument that I've heard against using cell cameras is people questioning the ethicalness. Is that a word? Sure, you're getting remote access to your trail cameras, but it's still hunting. Nothing is guaranteed. They are still wild animals. It's fair chase. And in my opinion, it is 100% ethical to use cell cameras. The first cell camera we're going to talk about is the Spypoint LINK-MICRO. This camera is probably the one that is most debated among Facebook pages and forums. The reason for that is this camera comes in right around $150. It was the first cell camera to really hit that consumer market price point. For only costing around $150, this camera is not too far off of the quality of cameras that you're going to see in the $150 price range that are not cell cameras. So apples to apples, it's a good purchase. It has a 10 megapixel camera, a half a second trigger speed, and an 80-foot infrared LED flash. They call it the Micro for a reason. This thing is tiny. Here is my iPhone 8 Plus, and as you can see, this camera is tiny compared to my iPhone. It's a pretty slick camera. If you open it up, it runs on a micro SD card, and it has 8 batteries that it runs off, 8 AA's. I always run lithium batteries in my cameras because it gives consistent power and they last a long time. The other thing I really like about this camera is if you look at it from the side, it is Python lock compatible. I run Python locks on all of my trail cameras, especially on public land. And in my opinion, if you're gonna make the investment in a cell cam, I'm gonna lock it up. I'm gonna protect my investment, protect this asset that's giving me real-time intel of details of what's going on in the deer woods. We'll get into some sample pictures, but first, the only real complaint that I have running the LINK-MICROs is that Spypoint's customer service is not great. But in my opinion, the benefit of being able to run multiple trail cameras because of the lower price point is worth dealing with subpar customer service by a million. At this point in time, Spypoint has 4 options for a photo transmission plan. The first option is free to you as the user and it's 100 pictures a month. The second option is 250 pictures a month for $5, 1,000 pictures a month for $10, or unlimited pictures for $15 a month. Those are the month-to-month options. It does get cheaper if you were to do an annual plan, But for me personally, I'm only running these cameras for 4 or 5 months per the year, so I run them on the month-to-month plans. The second camera we're going to talk about is the Spypoint LINK-DARK. They call it the LINK-DARK because this has a no-glow infrared flash, so it's invisible to the deer. This is Spypoint's premium cell camera. It comes in right around $350. This is a 12 megapixel camera, 0.07 second trigger speed, which is super fast, and has an 80-foot no-glow infrared flash. Around the back, press this button, pops open. It takes 8 AA batteries. Again, always recommend using lithium batteries. While I did speak poorly about Spypoint's customer service, there hasn't been an issue that they haven't been able to eventually solve, and in the few times I had a couple major problems, I was compensated in some way, including being upgraded to their premium cell camera. The photo transmission plans for the LINK-DARK are the same as the LINK-MICRO, but I'll put them up there again. It is free for 100 photos a month, $5 for 250 photos a month, $10 for 1,000 photos a month, and $15 to have unlimited pictures. And again, that is the month-to-month option. It is cheaper overall if you do the annual, but if you're only going to run your cameras for a few months throughout the year, it is still cheaper to do the month-to-month option. The third and final camera we're going to talk about today is the Stealthcam WXV. It's a sweet camera. It's got a nice tree bark pattern on the front. If you look at it from the side, you can see that it's Python lock compatible. Again, not just the camera, but the door also locks shut, which is a huge key for me. It's a little bit bigger than the LINK-MICRO, but again, that's why they call that one the LINK-MICRO. I'm not usually lugging these things around very much. They usually stay in one place for quite some time. That's the whole point of having a cell camera, in my opinion, is you not having to go in and get it. So the little bit of extra bulk does not bother me at all. This is a 22 megapixel camera, has a less than half-second trigger speed, and a 100-foot no-glow infrared flash. If we open up the door, you can see it's just a really simple camera, just a few buttons and a small screen. There's no viewing screen. Again, not a huge deal breaker to me. This camera generally runs between $150 and $200 depending on the time of the year and where you're looking. The photo transmission plan is a little bit different for Stealthcam. You get around 625 images for $5, 1,250 images for $8, 6,250 for $14, 12,500 for $20, and 62,500 images for $60. Keep in mind that regardless of whatever package you choose, it is a data plan, so it's a certain megabytes per month. And if you choose the video option, if it's available on any of these cameras, it's gonna be more data to transfer and fill up faster. So generally speaking, I normally only run my cell cams on pictures just for the sake of saving data. You can also choose on Stealthcam how compressed your files come across. So if you wanna just see what the picture is, you don't care if it's full HD quality, you have the option of choosing a very compressed file so it takes less data and you can have more pictures transferred for less money. So now that we've introduced all three of the cameras, you can decide for yourself what's important to you. If you only want the best of the best and you want a premium cell camera, you're probably gonna lean towards a more expensive camera. If you're going for value and being able to cover a lot of ground, you're probably gonna lean towards the LINK-MICRO or the Stealthcam or one of the other cheaper options out there. So with that said, let's take a look at some of the pictures so you can make the decision for yourself what camera fits best in your arsenal to help you kill more bucks this fall. We'll start with the Spypoint LINK-MICRO. As you can see in the bottom, you have the date, time, temperature, and moon phase, all of the relevant information that you could need. One thing to keep in mind is that these are the full resolution pictures. Spypoint does give you the option for an additional cost to download the full resolution pictures straight from the app, but the normal package sends you a lesser quality picture that's more condensed in order to save additional data. A lot of these pictures are actually of a buck that I shot on October 26th, so I'll link to that video down below in the description. Here's a nice crisp picture of turkeys landing in the field. Where this camera is located, it is a low spot in the field, so it does tend to get a little bit foggy first thing in the morning. Even with the fog, the picture still turned out really good. Here, these deer are at least 30 yards from the camera and you're still able to count tines. You're still able to see full detail of what the deer are. Here's a nice up close picture of that buck that I shot October 26th again. Here's a good example of a running buck. He's chasing a doe and it is in good focus. It's a crisp picture. Very happy for one of the less expensive cell cameras. Now we'll get into some of the night pictures, and the flash on these little cameras is pretty damn good. A rule of thumb for all trail cameras is that the flash generally works better when there's something for the flash to reflect off of, like trees or bushes or brush. Most of my cameras are right on the edge of the field, so there was nothing for those flashes to reflect off of. and they still did pretty good. And even 40 or 50 yards out, you're still able to see what deer this is, and the flash on these little cameras, as inexpensive as they are for cell cameras, did a really good job. Here's another example of deer far away from the camera, and you're able to see them pretty well still. And here's an absolute brute. You can see it's precipitating. I don't know if it's rain or snow, but even still, the picture is super crisp, clear, great picture. Now we'll go to the LINK-DARK. Remember, this is Spypoint's premium cell camera. At this point in time, it's their most expensive option. So I had high hopes, and I'd expect that the pictures are better quality than the LINK-MICRO. The daytime pictures are super crispy. They're really clear. Great camera. It still has all the same information as the LINK-MICRO at the bottom. This buck is actually hitting a mock scrape that I made. That is a grapevine zip tied to an oak branch. And from the day that I made that mock scrape, there was action on it every single day. In this picture, these deer are about 25 yards out from the camera. They're moving pretty quickly, and overall, it's still a pretty good quality picture. This picture makes it very clear that we got to do some doe patrol around here. Here's an early morning picture, still good quality. Not super different than the LINK-MICRO though, in my opinion, so I'm not sure that I would pay the extra $200. I'd probably just rather pick up another $150 camera instead of spending $350. And here's a picture that I thought was really cool. Very clear, in focus, but look at all those birds. So let's look at some of the night pictures. Here's that buck that I shot October 26th, hitting that mock scrape that I made. The picture quality is not too different than the LINK-MICRO again. At night, there was a little bit of motion blur if the animal was moving quite a bit. That's probably the case with any camera though. It almost seems like the flash was too bright and washed out the picture if the deer was too close to the camera. And here's a couple other pictures. In my opinion, the picture quality itself is not enough to justify the price tag compared to the LINK-MICRO, but it does have some nice features like the viewing screen and some other things like that that do make it worth more than just the LINK-MICRO. So now let's take a look at the Stealthcam. As you can see in the information bar, there's time, date, temperature, moon phase, just like the Spypoints. But one feature that I really like is you're able to name the cameras. So when you're looking at the pictures, you know exactly where that picture was taken. The daylight pictures were super crisp, and I was really happy with how they turned out. Like a lot of trail cameras, if the deer was moving relatively quickly, there was occasionally a little bit of blur, but not enough that you couldn't tell what the deer was. Where this camera was located, every single deer was just walking by. There was no reason for them to stop in front of the camera, and for the most part, the majority of the deer were in focus. Here's a really nice buck. I'm pretty sure my friend's dad actually shot that later in the season. Justin and I both passed this buck on the gun opener. And here you have a goofy looking buck in the background, but every deer in the picture is in crisp focus. And then lastly, you have this nice buck walking through past this scrape. Now we'll take a look at some of the night pictures. The night pictures were not nearly as crisp as the day pictures were. Going back to my rule of thumb, I think the picture quality might have been better if I had set up these cameras where there was something for the flash to reflect off of. This was just an open field that the deer happened to be walking by. Although the pictures aren't super crispy, you're still able to easily tell what buck is in the picture. Overall, not super outstanding, but some of the features of the Stealthcam and the ability to customize more of the programming through the app makes the Stealthcam a great buy in my opinion. And as always, unless you're buying a super expensive trail camera, if a deer is running, more than likely it's going to be blurry. That's it guys. Hopefully that answered some of your questions. I'll link all these cameras down below in the description. If you do still have questions, comment those below. Cell cameras are an amazing tool, and hopefully it'll help you kill a big buck this fall. Thanks for watching. Like the video, subscribe to my YouTube channel if you're not already, and I will see you guys next week.